Hello, 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 and welcome to Career Coffee Chat Live, and welcome to the summer kickoff of the More Impact Summer Series. I'm your host, Erin Urban. And as you tune in live, or if you're watching the replay, don't be shy. Say hi. I'd love to welcome you. And feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel because you can be the first to know about upcoming events, including the rest of this series. So, speaking of my friends, be prepared for real talk today about success, stress, how to achieve more impact without doing more. So, I don't know about you, but I don't really have space on my calendar or want space on my calendar to do more. We'll be tackling the challenges you experience as a professional and removing the roadblocks between you and where you want to go. Because let's face it, most people believe all they need to do is work harder, get a better job, grab another certification, or get promoted into leadership, and all your problems will be solved. Yay! Wouldn't that be nice? But unfortunately, that's not exactly how it works. If you're focused on the superficial, then all the misalignments underneath the surface continue to fester, and over time, you get further off the path of your true purpose. More cognitive dissonance builds up, and at some point, if you're lucky, you wake up and go, this isn't exactly working for me anymore. I don't like what I'm doing. I feel misaligned, or maybe I'm not showing up the way I want to be, or I'm just flat out unhappy, all while adding more on your to do list. So if you'd like to do less and have less stress and achieve more impact, you're in the right place. So if that sounds exciting to you, let's dive in. And if you've never seen my smiling face before, my name is Coach Erin Urban, or just Erin Urban. You can find out more about me at coacheurban.com. I'm a certified professional success and leadership mindset coach with a mission to leverage brain science to help you break through barriers to unlock your fullest potential. Now, my passion, my friends, is to help you create success on your terms. And with that in mind, this series has been requested by clients, friends, colleagues. And if you want to wire your brain for success and achieve what you want from your life your way, come on in, pull up a chair, grab a cup of coffee with me, and let's have a great conversation. What we'll be talking about is based on applied neuroscience. And if you've ever seen me before, you probably know that I'm a little bit of a neuroscience nerd. And we'll discuss how you can spot sneaky success saboteurs and empower you to create the life and career that you want. I want to say hi. Hi, Mariama. She's tuning in from YouTube. So as you log on, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, it doesn't really matter. I'd love to see you. I'd love to welcome you. And most importantly, answer your questions because, hint, hint, when you ask questions or you have something you want to talk about, that helps me help you. And here's a few highlights of what you can expect from the summer series. One, we'll discover what they've never told you about the power of your mind, and your brain is an amazing tool. Chances are no one's really told you how to leverage it. I mean, was there a class in high school that said Brain Power 101? No, and if so, I missed that one. Number two, we'll reveal the connection between your mindset and career success. You've heard about mindset, how important it is, and what the heck does it have to do with you getting more money in the bank account? It has a lot to do with getting more money in the bank account, among other things. And number three, we'll learn what new skills you, leaders, everybody needs to tackle the future of work. Because we don't really know what that looks like yet. And we have some really good ideas. We'll be talking about what it does look like and how you can position yourself for success in the future. Together, we'll dive in to better understand how you can tap into your zone of genius. So, out of everything I've shared with you so far, what excites you the most to learn more about? Pop your thoughts in the comments. Let me know. Again, what you share is likely to help me help you and shift our conversation to empower you, my friend. Well, while you're thinking about that, you might be asking yourself, what the heck is a zone of genius? Because I mentioned that. What's a zone of genius? I've seen that on maybe a couple of your posts. I saw it here. What's that thing? Well, as I shared in a recent article, your zone of genius is an aligned state of being that allows success to flow towards you versus forcing your way towards it. which, by the way, my friend, is usually what we do. We're good at. In essence, you're connecting what you do with who you are. And a few lucky souls land in this space by sheer happenstance. However, what if you could create this state for yourself at will? Guess what? You can. And after years of studying success, understanding how people think, researching neuroscience, how the brain works, and diving into personality work styles and all these fun things, I have developed a process to help you understand and, most importantly, unlock your fullest potential, which is what I call your zone of genius. That's where success, enjoyment flows towards you and not you having to struggle, strive, sacrifice, be under stress, etc., to get what you want and achieve some measure of success. Now, most coaching and consulting focuses on either how an individual shows up or in the workspace, for example, or how you show up in your personal life, as if you could separate the two, as if you are two different people. Thanks to a much needed wake up call that resulted from remote work and COVID, it's obvious now that you're one person. It's archaic to believe that you have two different lives. You have a life. Work just happens to be part of it. Yeah. So how does this resonate with you so far? Let me know in the comments in the chat. And while you're thinking about this, if I discussed this pre-COVID, most people who are tuning in from around the world would easily agree that work is a priority. It would be more like work and life, probably over here somewhere. Fortunately, now we're seeing our careers as a part of our life, not a driver of it, which is creating a real problem for big companies. RTO, return to the office, you slaves. The challenge is we have generations of programming to unwind. So before we start shifting paradigm, before we start renegotiating how we work and what the future work looks like, we have a lot of getting back to the basics and then relearning what actually works. And to access your zone of genius, your inner being, okay, you must connect that inner being to your outward presence. In other words, how you're showing up in life, which includes work. You've heard of the term executive presence. Well, everybody has a presence, not just executives. It's very interesting that we have an entire coaching focus all on executive presence. Hey, newsflash, your presence, whether or not you're an executive or not, matters. Because if you don't have a presence that's aligned with how you want to show up, then chances of you being an executive are not very high. Anyway, by focusing on only one half of your life, which is typically what we do, like focus on work or personal life, but we don't really connect it. So by focusing on only one half or the other, your career, for example, it's impossible to connect. There are really important things like your core values, your priorities, inherited mindsets, much more that makes you, my friend. So as a result of this polarized thinking, most of us have been living off balance. We're most often misaligned and disconnected from ourselves. Now, this misalignment creates friction. This probably comes as no shock to you. And that friction shows up in your work, your relationships, your ability to receive, achieve, or even appreciate success. And it also gets in the way of you establishing your definition of success in an authentic way. That's right. Just because you're doing what you think you should be doing doesn't necessarily mean it aligns with who you are. And that can be frustrating. It can be demotivating, confusing, and even cause burnout or depression. Now, if you've been feeling a little off, like something isn't right, but you can't quite put your finger on it, this could very well be the reason why. In fact, recently, after one of the big conferences I spoke at, I had an assessment. A lot of people filled it out. And one of the key data points was that a lot of people weren't feeling at the end of the day like, I'm singing in the rain, everything's great. Most people felt frustrated, like they didn't get things done. They felt like things were off, but they really couldn't put their finger on it. Like there's something just not right. I don't really know how to express it. Chances are, because not only are we evolving as a society, but our priorities are shifting, yes, and we've been living kind of misbalanced. So yes, our priorities are shifting, our society is changing, and yet we aren't quite sure what that looks like. It can be scary or it can be exciting, and the choice is yours. If it's exciting, let's talk about that. So the purpose of this series is truly to help you become more aligned with who you are. In addition, I'm sharing key science-based strategies to empower you to shed those unhelpful myths about success that actually inhibit you from experiencing success. Yeah. Then these common misconceptions of personal potential are what stop people actually from unlocking their fullest potential. It's very interesting. And we'll be talking more about that in a moment. And it's likely you have either inherited or developed conditioning that tells you a story about your limits or your ability to achieve or maybe even enjoy life. I have a question for you. Can you think of a few of these success myths or misconceptions that stop you from creating a life you want? Chances are, if you're a reasonably aware person, you probably know of a few of them, but you might not know what to do about them, right? Now, while you're thinking about this, let's dive into a few of the most common misconceptions that hold people back. And number one on the list is the work hard myth. Now, again, if you've ever heard me talk, you've heard me maybe talk about this, and I'll be diving a little bit more into it today. Now, this programming runs so deeply, my friends. It runs so deeply in our mental programs, and it's so incredibly fundamental to who we are or who we believe we need to be as a member of our society. Even contemplating it seems blasphemous, right? It's like, oh, you mean, well, everybody works hard. I mean, working hard. I mean, I can go on social media right now and tell you about how important it is to work hard. I mean, working hard is really important because if you don't work hard, then you don't get ahead, and you got to get ahead, so you got to work hard, right? Right? I mean, it's right here. It's on Facebook. It's on LinkedIn, right? No, it's not. In fact, the reason why we feel like we have to justify our work hard ethic is because it is so fundamentally ingrained in who we are. And we've heard it since childhood, since birth. Actually, it's all around us. It's in what we heard in our families, certainly for me. And what the problem with this is, when we have this work hard myth or this work hard belief structure, it's one of the main drivers that govern how we interact with the world around us. It's very fundamental, particularly if it's developed early in our life. So I'll start with some of the symptoms if you're not quite sure about this yet, and then I'll back into it. So this belief is also what we call a toxic agreement. In other words, it's an agreement that we make with ourselves. It's a belief structure that says if then that. And it's not a helpful cycle. It's actually a destructive cycle. So some of the things that show up as a result of this work hard belief, in other words, I have to work hard to get ahead, or I have to work hard to see success. Have to is the important thing here. Stress in all of its forms is one symptom. Overworking, putting in more hours at work, maybe than even what's needed, maybe because you think you should, or you're reluctant to push back or create boundaries for yourself ever. Telling yourself it's just a season, right now it's just really busy, or the economy is bad, therefore I should work harder so I can keep my job, or we make up a lot of reasons to keep ourselves in this overwork cycle. And if you're an entrepreneur, oh boy, you're telling yourself it's required to get ahead because that's just the way it is. You're an entrepreneur, you got to work hard. I mean, right? No, not exactly. You're more likely to sacrifice personal well-being and personal time for work, and you're telling yourself it's okay because you got to do that to pay the bills, etc. Fear is a big one. Fear of not getting things right, fear of not being promoted, fear of not keeping your job, fear of not reaching your ideal clients, fear, all the time, which leads to perfectionism, micromanagement, and potentially burnout. And delay justifications. We delay when we make it okay. It's okay to work hard now. I'll enjoy my retirement. My favorite? Not really. The one I hear a lot is I'll sleep when I'm dead. Hey, sunshine, you don't sleep? That whole dead thing's going to come a lot faster than you think. So let's just pause for a moment. Time out on the insanity. What struck home to you? Okay. Let's see if anybody's commented anything yet. Nope. Everybody's being quiet today. Maybe watching the replay. Hey, if you're watching the replay, great. Don't forget to comment because we get to see that and I get to respond to you and answer your questions. But what struck home to you? Did any of that land? Let's just talk about the retirement piece, for example. In reality, when you strip away the cultural assumptions, this includes familial, societal, corporate programming, all that stuff. You strip away all that stuff. Delaying your enjoyment of life until you're older and less able-bodied just does not make any sense at all. None. Zero. So who gets the best years of your life? Not you, apparently. What? We don't question this. We don't question this. We really don't. And studies have shown that the increase of depression and health problems, even death, increased dramatically within the first 5 years after retirement. And this is due to extreme shift in lifestyle and a mental strain of having to redefine who you are. In fact, I recently experienced someone who had retired early and his spouse had not, still working. And there's some challenges there, a lot of them, because he doesn't have the same definition. He doesn't really have a new definition. So he's filling that time with busy work that doesn't really have an impact. And he knows this at a certain fundamental. So he's also sabotaging himself by doing things that aren't healthy. It's a bad cycle. Don't do it. Just don't do it. But by and large, we still define who we are by what we do, and not who we really are. Why is that? Because a lot of us, we're being really honest, haven't taken the time to necessarily pause and reflect on who we are in the first place. So what does it do? It creates misalignment and leads to living a life unbalanced, responding to life experience in a misaligned way. If we're more in touch with who we are as a person, we're more able to have the tools and the knowledge and the empowerment to respond to our life in a way that's in alignment with who we are, that's authentic with who we are. The challenge is these misalignments, these unbalanced behaviors, has been perpetuated by how we're educated. It's been perpetuated by just simply not knowing that there's a different way to be. I didn't know when I was growing up. My family didn't know, right? So what happens is we then get thrust into a life of going through the daily actions of living in a disempowered and unintentional way. That's not very helpful. So let's take the educational system, for example. It's performance-based, right? And it's a normalizing system. In other words, individualism is not celebrated quite so much. And if you're wondering about that, one of the reasons why we see bullying sometimes, not always, is because one of the kids is a little bit different than everybody else. We can't have that. Difference isn't celebrated. Conformity to a standard or to a norm required to perform is celebrated. We're trained to perform to a standard. That, by and large, has nothing to do with who you are. See where I'm going with this? There isn't, to my knowledge, any significant drive to develop a better understanding of self in our fundamental education system. It really isn't. There's a whole lot of education around how you're expected to show up for society, how you're expected to conform to fit into your team, your family, your church, your community group, etc., school. Very, very little, if any at all, is to help you understand who you are or celebrate it. Even worse, there's very little information provided on how our brains work and how we can leverage the power of our minds to create what we want in life instead of what we don't want. So instead, we be processed through a system that represses our individuality, drives performance mindsets, and encourages false beliefs about success, such as, are you still with me here on this? Such as success as a result of hard work. We fundamentally believe that. It has to be true. Success is for lucky people. Success are for those of a certain demographic. Success are for those people over there, not here. All of these misaligned thinking, all of this maladjusted belief systems are designed to make success farther away from you and difficult to obtain, and it couldn't be farther from the truth. Everyone has a success and money sabotaging belief system, and everyone has a capability to achieve much more impact and much more success than your wildest possible dreams. Now, these success and money sabotaging belief systems, they can be inherited, they can be conditioned or developed. And you might be, I'm going to pause here. You might be wondering, like, why am I going here? Well, here's the deal. Okay, I could skip all this and just go to, well, you got to do this, you got to do this, and let go of that, blah, blah, blah. But without knowing why, the chances of you actually doing it are there. Nada. It's not going to happen. So, knowing why and where it comes from is very empowering, because beyond this conversation today, my friend, you can take this knowledge and then leverage it in other areas other than the work hard myth, for example, that we're focusing on right now. You can leverage it on maybe something else, like those money and success sabotaging belief systems that could be inherited, conditioned, or developed. And this means that it can come from your family, what they believe to be true about life. It could come from your educational background, or it can be developed by you as you experience life, right? Take, for example, if at any point in your childhood you went on stage and somebody laughed at you, chances are you're probably going to have a problem with going on stage. That's how our brain works, right, wrong, or indifferent. It's designed to do many things, and one of those is to keep you safe. So if you had an extensive emotional reaction to an experience, you may avoid that in the future. That's just how it's designed to work. So it requires some intentional energy to repattern that program. The good news is you can, because science has proven that everyone of healthy mind and body has the ability to reprogram our mindsets, our perspectives, our belief systems until well advanced age. It's not true of just people who are under the age of 18 can change their mind. Absolutely not. Actually, everybody has the chance to do this. Let's see, we have a comment over here. Jose says, do I have any tips, hints, techniques for how we can do better at analyzing ourselves to make sure we're aligned with where we really should be in our lives, professional, sentimental, values, etc.? Great question. Absolutely. Okay, so here we are. So we're going to pause where I was in my little timeline there, and we're going to talk about this. So this is the power of asking questions. See how easy it is? Yay! Thanks, Jose. I bet more than one person has this question. So thank you for asking. So tips, hints, techniques for how we can do better at analyzing ourselves and understanding self. Okay, well, there's lots of them. One, it's in my best-selling book, which, by the way, you can get on Amazon. But yes, there's that. And here's a really easy one. You can start today without even reading the book. Okay. Everybody probably, they've had, some experience on this planet, kind of knows what they gravitate towards and what they don't. So we're just focusing in the career space right now. So just in the career space, because most of us, if we're tuning in on LinkedIn, for example, we're concerned about how we're showing up in our professional lives, our careers. Okay, great. Well, when you think about it, you probably know what takes more energy from you in the career space, maybe even your personal life, and what doesn't. Now, here's the deal. I'm not advocating for you to say, oh, that stuff, I don't like to do it, so I'm just not going to do it anymore. We don't always have the luxury of doing that. And we can also help shape how our careers evolve and how we show up most empowered and most powerful in our personal and our professional lives by knowing how we add value and where our strengths come from. So just understanding self. Number one, let's make a list. I know it's not very sexy. However, it works. So make a list of things that give you energy, Jose, and then make a list of things that don't give you energy, things that take away your energy, things that suck the life out of you. Make that list. And that list is really important too, just as important, in fact, as the list of giving you energy, because it helps you avoid projects, being volunteered for things, or applying for a job that's not going to help you in the long run. You don't want to set yourself up for failure. Because here's the deal. Things that drain the life out of you, chances are that's not going to change a vast amount. Now, what does this list do? Well, it helps you understand where your energy flows. Everybody's energy flows in different ways. There's no right or wrong answer to this. And you don't need to fix it either, by the way. You can spend a lot of wasted time trying to fix something that doesn't need to be fixed. Take, for example, math really isn't my sweet spot. It's not that I can't do it. I can't. It takes more energy, right? So what do? Well, if I'm a smart leader, I include people in my team who are better at math than I am. And then I empower them for them to add value in their sweet spot. They love doing math. Take, for example, my husband. He likes doing Sudoku for fun. I have no idea. Anyway, he's great at it. Me, I do a pivot table once a year. I'm a creative. I'm a coach. Yes, I can do math. I know how to calculate and most importantly, use a calculator. It's not my strong point. Does that make me a bad person? No. Does it mean I have to fix it? No. Also no. So these are just some basics. Now, how about stepping beyond that? How about the values part of it? Jose, I've got a treat for you. Okay. So when we wrap up this live show, I will put a link in to a place where you can grab a big list of values. It's really important to kind of understand what our primary drivers are. Now, this sounds easy. It's not. It's a big list of values, and you need to then winnow that down to your top 3 to 5. That's tough because we want to have all the values, right? There, again, no right or wrong answer, and no need to have judgment around which ones you think is a priority right now. And know that oftentimes our environment, our feeling may drive those values. So it's always good to revisit them. Some are very fixed, like take, for example, there's a great way to kind of back into a value. What's your pet peeve? Just put it in the chat if you feel comfortable if you're watching live or listening to replay later. What's your pet peeve? For me, time. Someone's wasting my time. Huge pet peeve. Now, why is that so important? So you have to back into it. Like, okay, so what is it about wasting my time that irritates me so much? Well, when you back into it enough and start asking why, you realize that I really value every moment. And every moment that I experience on this planet is extremely valuable to me. So if someone wastes my time, it has much more impact than if, I didn't necessarily value every moment. I mean, I love like experiencing every moment in living life. That is something that's a high value for me, a high priority. So how about priorities? Well, that's something you can answer. You can think about, okay, what really drives me and challenge them. Here's the deal. Why should you challenge them? Because some of our priorities are designed for us and not by us. That's because when we're young and we're little, we're impressionable, we take a tone of what is normal and right and good in the world based on, guess who? Your family. And your family, probably most of the time, means well. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be your priorities. Sometimes we never bother to question these, particularly when we're thrusting people into college and choosing an education and choosing a career path at, 18, really? Your frontal lobe hasn't even formed yet. Give me a break. You can expect people to make life-changing decisions when their frontal lobe hasn't formed yet. It doesn't happen until your early 20s. Anyway. So, yes, that's another one. Another one, as I share in my book, and by the way, if you go on my website, which is coachurban.com, you can find a resource to my book. You can also download free resources, including a feedback form. Because here's why. Why should we get feedback? What does it have to do with us understanding ourselves? Here's the thing. You're blind to your blind spots. Other people aren't. And by getting feedback and seeking it out, it can be life-changing. It was for me. And most people I've talked to who leverage this the tool of self-development, it's a game changer. And it's so easy to do. And I have some tools on my website to help you do that. It's free. You just go over there, click resources, download stuff. No big deal. You can get it. It's free, right? My gift to you. So hopefully, Jose, that answered some of your questions, like how to understand how to analyze yourself. There are several different ways. One is just really asking, being nosy about you and what gives you energy, what drains you. That gives you a lot of ideas around how you're showing up and your strengths. Two, also understanding what your values are. Again, I'm going to pop that in the comments, so be sure to check that out on YouTube and on LinkedIn and on Facebook. We're live on Facebook for the first time in a very long time today. As well as I have free on my website how you can incorporate feedback in your everyday development and in your life. So yeah, all good stuff. Feel free to ask me any more questions that you have. And I'm going to come back to talking about one of the biggest success false beliefs, right? And what you feel your success sabotage story is, and why it's so important to identify these stories. Because a lot of them for one, they drive all our micro actions. We don't realize this, but these belief systems drive your actions, and it's on a subconscious level. So you're not even intentional to challenge it or question it. And it can come from what's inherited, conditioned, or developed, meaning it can come from your family and what they believe to be true about life, come from your educational background, or developed by you as you experience life. And most of us may have some idea of what some of these success sabotage stories are. For me, one of the false beliefs from my upbringing was thinking that rich people are bad. Yeah. Rich equals greedy. Rich equals bad, or bad manipulative power. Rich people are bad. So what does that do exactly? Well, what that does, it actually keeps you trapped below the level of income you want to make. Because if you believe rich people are bad, well, you don't want to be bad, do you? So if that's a belief system for you, you're not going to want to actually subconsciously allow that kind of success in your life. Yes, that's how it works. That's the way the brain works. Okay? That's one reason why it's very important to identify these stories, because your brain is designed to show you more of what you want and believe and prove you right, even if you're not. And these stories can blind you to opportunities that delay or even prohibit a joyful life. So let's circle back to that common sabotaging myth, the work hard belief system. And if you, like just about everyone else I know, including myself, grew up with believing success only comes as a result of hard work, then this is probably what you can expect. Number one, you'll easily sacrifice yourself to work hard. Yes, it comes easy. You justify it. 6 ways from Sunday. You can justify it up one side, down the other. No problem. You justify that working hard stuff because you have to do it, because that's how you get success, right? The issue is success goalpost will keep moving. So you work really hard, but that success goalpost keeps moving. Because if you obtain success, that means you could stop working hard and then the cycle ends. So the belief would be wrong. We can't, and that's not right. That doesn't compute, that doesn't work. So it's a program, right? A lot of these mental belief systems are actually programs in the back of the brain. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail in this particular kickoff introductory episode, and I will later, particularly if you're curious. So send me a note if you want to know all about how the brain works and all the little minutia detail. I will let you know. But basically, your brain is out to prove you right and support your mental programming. Right, wrong, or indifferent. It doesn't have a judgment about whether it's not going to help you. It doesn't care necessarily. It doesn't have that kind of discernment. So therefore, the cycle can't end if it is success is a result of work hard, and then that cycle can end. Because if it does, and that means the belief system wasn't right. You see where this gets sticky? So chances are, if this is you, like everybody else, then you won't necessarily ever feel really successful. Even if you are, the goal will always move. And, because even if you reach a certain level of success, but, look where I could be. See, I could be here. Yeah, I'm here, but I could be there. And you'll rarely, maybe never, celebrate your wins. And it's likely you'll continue to move the bar up, making it harder and harder to be successful based on whatever your definition is at the time. And to make it even more fun, it would be easy for you to be persuaded that someone else's idea of success is what you should strive for. And you may not even consider that your idea of success is good or what it even is. And you could occasionally fall victim to what I call comparison-itis. In other words, belittling your success or where you are in your life because it doesn't measure up to someone else's life, especially if you have a social media account. Isn't that what Facebook is for? Does any of this ring a bell with you, my friend? Let me know in the chat, or you can send me a private message. That's also awesome. If you think this is you by any measure, okay, once you retire, you expect this great reward feeling because that's what we're programmed to do. In particularly American culture, we are programmed to go through, primary education, get good grades, perform well to the standard of someone else's choosing. That has nothing to do with you. And conform to the norm. Go to college because that's what everybody does. Really? I know some AC techs who make a lot of money. Anyway. Saying, particularly right now in Houston, as hot as it is, they make a lot of money. So yes, but you got to go to college because that's what people do. You go college. And even better if you get MBA or doctorate, that makes sure you make lots of money. No, not really. Anyway, moving on. So you go to academia. You choose a career path. Then you go out there in the world and you work. Without questioning said career path. And God forbid you not work in the area of where you went to college because that means you wasted money. Oh my goodness. And then depending on your family's belief system and your culture, you have to get married and have kids because, that's what you do. You see where I'm going with this? And then you work really hard because you want to move up in the corporate ladder. You want to be a good, upstanding citizen and pay your taxes or whatever. And then retire with a big nest egg. It's the American dream. No. It makes no real logical sense when you look at it. There's a lot of flaws in all that. Miriam says 100%. Sorry, Miriam, I'm not quite sure where you're 100%ing, but yay, I'm glad. There's a lot of big flaws. Maybe it's the ringing the bell thing. Yes. So there's a lot of flaws in our success programming that we have. Okay. Because we're more likely to see the gaps of where we think we should be than celebrating what we actually have. And that's a big problem. Now, important note, this is my disclaimer. Should have a little graphic over here. Disclaimer. The point of all of this is not to go, just forget work. No, the point of all of this is to create balance in your life based on you and who you are in alignment with your core self. So you can develop the life you want and not be pulled into some vortex of toxicity because of mental programming that you didn't even ask for and don't know how to rewrite because no one bothers to give you the manual. That's what this series is really about. I'm giving you the manual. This is really powerful stuff. So share with your friends and your family and anybody else you think of because it's very powerful, very powerful. And the point is for you to make decisions and be intentional about your actions based on what you want. So with that, let's take the example we've been working on. What's the cure for the work hard disease? Well, one, identify it. Most of us have it by some degree. I certainly do. My husband does. Most of us do. Most of us do. And hey, let's not have judgment about it. Let's just say, okay, well, I have that, like pretty much everybody else. Understand where it comes from, because that gives you a lot of power over it. So when you want to rewrite some mental programming or rescript something that's not helpful for you, it helps you to understand where it comes from. And that's why I'm going through all of this, because yeah, I could tell you, well, blah, 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 just do that. It's not very helpful. It's not going to empower you with the tools to not only take this particular nasty little mental negative belief or toxic agreement out of your mental system, but you can also use this on others too. So identify it. Most of us have it, probably, so you're not alone. Understand where it comes from. Is it your family? Probably well-meaning. I know mine was well-meaning. They thought this is the way you are, right? They were also very suspicious of people who were lazy. Heard it all the time. So do you know how uncomfortable it is for me right now not to do anything? I have to look up couch potato in the dictionary. I don't know how to not do something. I don't know what that is. In fact, last night I was so tired. All I want to do is just sit in my chair and zone out and listen to like easy listening music. So it sounds very boring. But I was so tired. But you know what happened? My little mindset program said, you can't just sit here. You have to do something. So I reach over there, grudging reluctance, and bring my computer close to me so I can look at some things I know I need to research. I don't know how to not do anything because that's lazy. That's how bad it is. So that's an example. If this is you, my friend, chime in on the comments if you're watching a replay later. Well-meaning. My family didn't mean to do this to me. I just thought this is the way you should be. So where does this come from? Is it your family? Is it your culture? Is it your educational background? Knowing where it comes from gives you a lot of insight. And you can also probably figure out where else it shows up in your life too. Name it to tame it. Call it what it is. It's a toxic agreement that tears you down. So if it's the work hard false belief, the work hard myth, call it that. Hey, this is that work hard thing again, right? Overworker syndrome. Consider too, while you're doing this, what is your idea of success? Because this is very important, regardless of what you're working on, what you're considering. Back to Jose's question too earlier, understanding self and understanding how you want to show up, what your idea of success is very important. Now, here's some tips. Because this may take a little while, it's not like you're going to just pop that one out overnight, probably. Because we've had years and years and years and years of layering and programming and shoulds. And did you know that social pressure is like one of the most powerful decision-making aspects in your life? Yeah, someone else's decision. What? But that's how we're designed as humans. So it takes energy, some intentional thought around what your idea of success is. Now, chances are you might have to do some thinking. Maybe think back to childhood, what you really loved to do, or, everybody wanted to be a fireman. I didn't, actually. I was drawing landscape design and home plans when I could hold a pencil. So think about that. Like, what do you like? And I really love creating wonderful environments for people to thrive. So here I am. In the meantime, you can release the burden from your mindset. Once you name it to tame it, you can start to release that burden. You can start to unhook where it's hooked in your behaviors. And just be aware if it pops up and challenge it. Go, am I saying yes to this extra project because I think it's awesome and aligns with my skill set and my strengths and how I want to show up in my career and how I want to evolve it based on what I want, what I'm awesome at? Or am I saying it because of fear and I don't have to work hard to get ahead? Right. So challenge it. Include a gratitude practice. Oh my God, I know it sounds so sissy pants. Fortunately, it sounds less sissy pants now than it did 2 or 3 years ago, because 2 or 3 years ago, let's say 2017, if I say gratitude practice, I get a whole lot of rolling eyes in the audience. I get less of those because we're starting to understand that a gratitude practice is really just simply a process to train your brain to see and appreciate your success in the moment. That's what it is, because we're so trained not to do it, not to see it, not to appreciate it. And there's also another important reason too. But a gratitude practice is extremely important, particularly first thing in the morning. Why first thing in the morning? Because first thing in the morning, you're closer to accessing your subconscious. And if you want to train your brain to do anything, first thing in the morning when you're closer to that sleepy state is really important. This is a big hint into a lot of things that are very important in how I've enabled my clients to achieve massively impactful, new, wonderful things in their life and let go of the things that were not serving them. Gratitude practice, among other things, it trains your brain to see more of what you want and appreciate. Why is that important? Because your brain is designed, among other things, to filter in more of what you focus on. You receive around 11 million bits of information per second. You only genuinely process between 4 and 14. That's a huge delta. So in other words, vast majority of life, your brain is filtering out. What does it decide what to filter out? Guess. Yes, your belief systems, your mindset, your perspective, what you're focused on. Like, if you've ever been in the market for a new car, if you've ever been in the market for a new car, you probably now see that car everywhere. Well, there's not because there's more Toyota Camrys in the world. Well, there's a lot of them. It's because that's what you're focused on. Your brain is designed to do that. So by including a gratitude practice, you're training your brain and building your mental muscle to focus more on what you want. I have a question. Let's see. Someone mentioned, I struggle with relaxation as you speak of. I can't shut my head off, so I totally understand. Let's see. Who said that? I want to say hi to you. So I want to make sure I can see who said that. Melinda, great to see you. Yeah, sometimes I can't see on this program. So yes, struggle to shut the brain off. Remind me, Melinda, before we wrap this session up, I'm going to give you a really quick, very powerful tool. And by the way, whenever I'm helping someone build the mental muscles, this is like step number one. And building mental muscles, and also enabling your brain to make any changes, to dive deeper in, because if you can't shut it off, it's very, very difficult to make any sort of impact on the mental programs that don't serve you. So this is very important. So before we sign off today, I will give you this tip. All right, so hang in there for a second. I know it's a big carrot. Just hang around, listen to me talk. But yes, you can break the cycle. You can break this negative cycle. And there's a radical truth that most people find it very difficult to accept. You ready? Success can be easy for you. Let me say that again. Success can be easy for you. Let that sit for a moment. Think about it. How do you feel when I said that? How do you feel when I said that? Success can be easy for you. Do you naturally reject the idea right away without considering it? Does it feel uncomfortable? Maybe even like blasphemy, or make you suspicious? We're conditioned to believe that success must be difficult to obtain. It's a very rare individual that I run across. In fact, I've never actually met anyone that genuinely believed that success was easy. Typically not. There's a few people, by and large, the vast majority, particularly working class America, we don't believe that. And I'm not going to go into why that is right now. If you're curious about it, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to go into more detail. Like I said, nerd out about whatever you want to know more about, right? Because it's belief in the power of the human brain, this condition, success is difficult, is actually created in your life. So that condition is created in your life because, like I mentioned before, I will say this multiple times, your brain is designed to prove you right and filter out anything that doesn't align with your belief system, right, wrong, or indifferent. There's no judgment about it. It just says, that's your program. That's what you're focused on. Okay, great. We'll filter out everything else. So, like, for example, if you have a job interview coming up and you just are so fearful that you're going to bomb it, it's going to be a disaster, you're not going to know what to say, guess what will probably happen? You guessed it. You'll create the condition that you're focused on. Now, if you can set that aside by building your mental muscles, which I'll give you step 1 on how to do that today before we wrap up. If you can set that aside and focus on what you want, this is very important. Focus on what you want with the right emotional resonance. If you focus on what you want, but it's a dissonance, like you're afraid or you're stressed or you're anxious, then things won't turn out quite the way you want it to, quite the way you expect. So focusing on what you want with gratitude, joy, happiness, or even just a kind of a neutral emotional set point is very important. Then let it go. Don't think about it more. Don't obsess about it. When it starts coming across your conscious, go, nope. Use a technique that I will give you here in a moment. Redirect the mind, build the mental muscle, because your brain is a tool for you. It's not your master. You are. Okay. I won't get into the difference between the mind, like the controlling, ruling realm of the mind and the brain, but the brain is a tool of the mind. We can go into that another time. But success can be easy for you, my friend. Now, during this series, I'll share what they never told you about the power of your brain, so you have like a little window into that today. I also share, based on science, how you can wire your brain for success. In addition, I'll share strategies that empower you to thrive through challenging times. And as a bonus, discover what skills are needed for you to tackle the future of work. Okay, now with that, we'll take a pause and we'll focus on that tool. Now, that tool that helps you quiet the mind, and it does an amazing amount of things. So that's also, I should probably make a note. The second thing I'll be popping in the chat is a link to a video that's a step-by-step. It's very, very quick. You can do this in 2 minutes, literally, or less. And what it does, it not only quietens the chatter, so you can hear yourself think and relax. It also does a lot of other things. One, it increases your IQ. That's right. It increases your cognitive function ability. Yes. And also allows you to center and reduce your cortisol, so reduce stress immediately, right away. It signals to the brain that you're okay, you're safe, because most of us during our modern lives, we at some point feel stressed and pulled off center and off balance. And when we do that, that signals to the brain and the body that you're not safe. So what does it do? Then it goes into some form of fight, flight, or freeze. Now, fight, flight, or freeze is oftentimes misunderstood. We think it's like this all or nothing state. We're like, oh, or we're okay. Actually, there's levels. So we can be in some form of fight, flight, or freeze when your boss says, oh, yeah, so we've got a deadline on the project you're working on. And probably you're like, ah. That's a stress response, because we only have one. We only have one stress response: fight, flight, freeze. That's it. That's all we're equipped with. Evolution hasn't come up with another one yet. That's all we have. And we're handling everything, all the nuances and complexities of modern life with that. Doesn't work very well, understandably. So, yes, it gets rid of that, right? Puts us in the safe mode. What does going in safe mode sound like? Something you're doing on a computer? What does that do? Well, it allows you to access your creative brain. It allows you to be curious, because those two functions are completely inaccessible when you're in any level of stress. Yeah. Why? Evolution. At no point probably did a caveman survive by going, I wonder how fast that saber-toothed tiger is running. No, those people didn't live. So what happened is fight, flight, or freeze was the way you lived. And therefore, we've not developed the ability to be curious and innovative and creative when we're under stress. Now, some people argue there's good stress, and there's some good tension. We'll call it something different. There's a good tension. Like If you want to achieve something, there can be a positive tension between where you are and where you want to go versus a negative one. There's different types of stress. I wouldn't lump it all underneath stress because our brain has a negative connotation with that, and I digress. So, yes, this particular, I should get on with it. This particular process is very simple, takes less than 2 minutes, takes less time than for me to explain it. We'll just put it that way. I'll pop a link in the comments. You can check it out, look at the video, learn all about it. Okay, now, what is it? There's two parts. The first part is what we call a physiological sigh. It's very simple. Don't ask me why they call it that, but it's a particular breathing technique that signals to the brain and the body that you're okay. And it can unlock parts of the brain that is locked out or made more difficult for you to access. And it's very simple. All you do is you breathe in through the nose as much as you can, all the way down to the diaphragm. You open up your mouth, the last bit of the inhale, to expand down to the diaphragm, and you exhale through the mouth very slowly. So you can do that with me if you'd like. You can inhale through the nose. And you can do it as many times as you want. Chances are, if you did that just once, you can already feel this kind of tingly feeling like, oh. The other thing it does, it releases feel-good hormones like oxytocin into your bloodstream that, make you feel better. Is that bad? I don't think so. This is a good thing. I do this several times a day. It does multiple things and it's wonderful. It increases IQ and EQ and it allows you to process better. So the next step is, now if you've done that breathing, the next step is to focus your senses on one thing. So there is a step that focuses senses on multiple things, but we don't need to worry about that right now. Let's just focus the senses on one thing. Most people are tactile, so after you've done your breathing, you can just rub your two fingertips really slowly together, focusing all of your attention on these two fingertips to where you can feel the fingertip ridges. And what is that doing? It's focusing all of your mental powers on a physical sensation. Why? Because your body is always present. Your body's always in the present moment. It's not ever concerned about what happened before or worried about the future. It's always present. What you're doing is you're focusing your entire mental facility on your body, which makes you present. It's that easy. Two pieces, physiological sigh, focusing all of your mental facilities on either rubbing your fingers together, a tactile response. You could be really curious about the texture of your clothes or listen to a sound. Right now, I don't really want to listen to all the cicadas making obnoxious noises out there, so I chose not to do that one. So you can decide, would you like to listen to something very intently and analyze that sound? Do you prefer to do a tactile response? It doesn't really matter. What you're doing is you're focusing your senses on the physical body. Now, again, I'll pop a link into the comments below on YouTube and on LinkedIn and Facebook to help you and empower you to leverage this technique. It's step one of any self-development process. Now we've gone through all that. I'll leave this with you. Who you are is how you will experience life. That's right. So if you're still curious, not quite sure, like, should I? Would I? Who you are is how you'll experience your life. Now, there's several phrases I often use with my clients and workshops that I do. Who you are is how you lead. Who you are is how you coach. In essence, there is true freedom and empowerment in knowing who you are and making that alignment in your life, in your career, which is a part of your life, making that alignment in your life. So I look forward to sharing more in this More Impact series with you to help you unlock your zone of genius. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode or resources related to this series. And most importantly, feel free to pay it forward and share the fun with your friends and colleagues. Let's see, somebody said, thank you. Thank you, David, for tuning in. He said, thank you. These exercises are very helpful and timely as I have a job interview in about 90 minutes. Get them. You're awesome. Yeah, do that breathing. You're golden. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. It's so great to see you. Again, if you're watching the replay later, also great to see you. And don't hesitate to reach out. Pop a comment in, send me a direct message. It's all great, all welcome. So until next time, my friends, keep elevating. Bye for now.